For a while now, we've kind of gotten used to thinking about AI as, well, a chatbot, right? Something you talk to, a text generator. But what if that's just scratching the surface? We are right on the edge of a huge shift, moving from an AI that just talks to an AI that actually does stuff.
So, let's really dig into this one core question, the one that's driving everything right now. What if your AI could do way more than just talk?
Yeah, what if it could go out and find the latest info, act on your behalf, and actually achieve complex goals all on its own? This is the big leap we're talking about, from a simple language model to something much, much smarter, an intelligent agent.
Okay, so to really get why this is such a revolution, we got to start with the basic problem, right? The core limitation of the large language models we've been using. You can think of them as these brilliant, amazing brains, but they're trapped inside a walled garden.
And here's the thing about that walled garden. An LLM's knowledge is completely static. It's literally frozen in time. It only knows about the world up to its knowledge cutoff date. So it has no clue what happened yesterday, let alone 5 minutes ago. That's the wall. And now, we're going to talk about how to break right through it.
So, how do you give this brilliant brain a window to the real world, to what's happening right now? Well, the first big step, the first major breakthrough, is a technique called RAG.
Okay, RAG. It stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, and it is a total game changer. The best way to think about it, it's like giving the LLM an open book exam. Instead of just trying to remember everything from its training, it can now look things up. It can pull from a library, from the internet, whatever, to get fresh, relevant info to answer your question.
And you know what? The process is actually pretty straightforward. First, it retrieves. It goes and grabs relevant documents, maybe from recent news articles or your company's private files. Then, it augments. It basically stuffs that new information right into your original prompt. And finally, it generates an answer based on all that combined info. See, it's the difference between just knowing stuff and knowing what's happening right now.
All right, so accessing information is huge. That's step one. But what about actually doing things, interacting with the world? That's a whole other level. This is where we go from just giving the brain a window to actually giving it a pair of hands.
And we do this with something called tool calling. Basically, we give the model a toolbox, and these tools are just APIs. If you're not familiar, just think of APIs as little messengers that let different apps talk to each other. By using these tools, the AI can finally move beyond just spitting out words and can actually perform actions.
So let's make the distinction super clear. RAG is all about knowing. It's about fetching information to give you a better answer. Tools, on the other hand, are all about doing. They execute a command to make something happen. It's the difference between reading about how to build a chair and actually picking up the hammer and nails.
And once you give an AI tools, wow, the possibilities just explode. It can search the web in real time, it can check the weather for you, it can draft and send an email, it can do complex math. It's not just a fancy thesaurus anymore, it's a genuine digital assistant.
Okay, let's make this super concrete. A regular old LLM, it can write you a beautiful, heartwarming poem about a teddy bear. No problem. But an LLM with a tool, it could tap into a Maps API and actually find a toy store near you that has teddy bears in stock right now. See? That's the magic. It's bridging that gap between the digital world and the real world.
So what happens when we put all of this together? When you combine that real-time knowledge from RAG with the ability to take action using tools, well, you get something genuinely new, something revolutionary, an AI agent.
So what is an agent exactly? It's an autonomous system. That's the key word. You don't give it step-by-step instructions. You just give it a high-level goal, like plan a weekend trip to San Diego, and it figures it out. It reasons, it plans, it uses multiple tools one after another, all on its own. It's not just a tool you wield. It's a worker you delegate to.
But how does an agent actually think? A really common way is a framework called REACT, which is short for reason and act. And it's basically this simple little loop it runs over and over. First, it observes the situation. Okay, what do I know so far? Then it plans its next move. What should I do next? And finally, it acts by calling a tool. And it just keeps doing that. Observe, plan, act. Observe, plan, act, until the goal is achieved. That's its internal monologue, its thought process.
Okay, this all sounds absolutely incredible, doesn't it? An autonomous assistant that can just go solve problems for us. But And this is a huge but. All this power and autonomy introduces a massive challenge. How can you be sure it actually works? And maybe even more importantly, how do you even evaluate it when it's doing so much on its own?
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? An agent isn't like a calculator where you get one right or wrong answer. It's a whole chain of thoughts and actions. So if the final result is bad, where did it go wrong? Was it the initial plan? Did it pick the wrong tool? Did the tool itself break? Trying to debug this is like trying to find one wrong turn in a 100-step journey. It is incredibly complex.
Let's actually break down a few of the common ways these things can fail. First, in what's called tool prediction, the agent might just make up a tool that doesn't exist. That's a hallucination. Or it could use the right tool, but feed it garbage info, like trying to find that teddy bear at, I don't know, latitude 0, longitude 0. Then there's tool execution. The agent's thinking could be perfect, but the tool itself is just buggy. That's a classic software problem. And finally, you have response synthesis. This is where the tool works perfectly, but the information it gives back is so messy or confusing that the agent can't make sense of it and ends up giving you a wrong final answer.
So when you see all these ways it can break, it naturally leads to the next big question. How on earth do you build an agent that you can actually rely on?
Well, it really comes down to a few key things. First, you have to be super methodical about tracking errors. You can't just fix what you see, you have to categorize them. Second, your tools, your APIs, they need to be designed so clearly with perfect instructions. Third, you absolutely need a high-quality model driving the whole thing, something with great reasoning skills. And finally, when a tool gives an answer, that answer needs to be structured, simple, and clean so the model doesn't get confused.
So let's just pull it all together one last time. We started with a basic LLM in its walled garden. RAG gave it knowledge of the outside world. Tools gave it abilities to act in that world. And when you combine knowledge and abilities, you get agents, which give you real autonomy.
And that leaves us with this final, and I think most important idea. As these incredibly powerful agents start to feel more like partners in our work and lives, the real challenge isn't going to be about making them more powerful. It's going to be about making them trustworthy. The agent revolution is already happening, but figuring out how to build that trust, that's the real challenge and the real work that's just beginning.